there. Tonight we're going to talk about how to make a meal plan you will actually stick to save time, save money, and most importantly, your mental energy. I want to talk about vacations because to me, when I think of meal planning, I also think of planning vacations. And not many of us would buy a plane ticket and just go on vacation the next day with nothing planned. That sounds like the recipe for a terrible vacation. The same thing kind of goes for meal planning. If you buy a bunch of groceries with no plan, you're definitely not going to use up most of it. You're going to make meals that don't make any sense, and you're just going to wish that you had better ideas. You're going to be coming home from work or ending your day of work and then being hungry and being like, oh, I have to figure out a recipe. I have to see if I have the groceries. I have to see if I can even have time to make all this. It's just a lot of effort when we don't plan ahead. Same with vacations. When you're going on vacation, if you don't plan ahead, you're gonna be like scrambling to do fun stuff and then it won't be as fun. You're just gonna be more stressed out. So basic high level of what is meal planning, it is literally choosing meals to make, having the ingredients ready to make those meals that you plan. That is meal planning. And of course, people use meal planning for all different things. I think that diet culture has very much co-opted meal planning, and when you think of it, it's like this rigid, like you have to follow it to a T, and you can't, if you get off your meal plan, you failed or you're bad. That is absolutely not how we view meal planning. We're not going to talk about weight loss, dieting, or meal planning in that regard at all. I really use it as a tool and system to save time, save money, and mental energy. Some common mistakes that people make when they're meal planning. And tell me if you've ever made these mistakes in the comments. Over planning is probably the biggest one. When you're just getting a little bit too ambitious and you plan breakfast, lunch, and dinner for like 7 days, you're definitely not going to be able to stick to that. No one can. We're humans. We want spontaneity. You can't plan 7 days in a row, breakfast, lunch, dinner, all your snacks. It's just not going to work, and you're going to feel like you failed when you're not able to stick to it. So let's just avoid that entirely. Tip number 1, don't plan breakfast, lunch, dinner for a whole week or even longer than a week. It's just not a good idea. Another mistake people make is planning meals that are too ambitious. So let's just say you're planning a bunch of dinners for the week and you're like, okay, Monday I'm gonna make risotto, Tuesday I'm gonna make a pizza, Wednesday I'm gonna make gnocchi. I don't know why these are all Italian, but I guess maybe Italian meals can be very ambitious. That is another recipe for disaster because you'll feel tired of cooking all those really labor-intensive meals every night. You're not gonna be able to stick to that because the meals are just too difficult. So that's another mistake. I think the last mistake and the biggest one is just not doing it. If you don't make a meal plan, you risk wasting a lot of food, which also is wasting money. So it's bad for the environment and your wallet. And you're wasting that mental energy. When you come home from work or when you stop working, you don't want to be figuring out what to make, and you should be relaxing on the couch or taking care of errands or doing other stuff with your energy. I want to get into how I meal plan, and what I really want you to take away is that every version of this is going to be different. Like how I meal plan might not be how you meal plan, and you have to do what works for your lifestyle, your needs, your taste preferences, your schedule, who's in your family. It's all different, and that's okay. There's no one right way to do this, but I'm still going to tell you my system just to give you an idea of what it's like and some inspiration. The first step in my meal planning process is shopping my pantry, what I already have. Earlier, last week we did a little pantry tour on one of these lives. I have tons and tons of stuff in my pantry right now, and this is kind of like food that's already been paid for, so I don't have to buy it again and don't have to spend more money. Your pantry is like a grocery store, so I will go look at my freezer, go look at what I have in my cupboards, what's in my fridge that I need to use up. That's where I start. Then I find recipes. So that's what I was doing before this live, and on my stories you probably saw a little bit of that. Here's what I have, what can I make with this? And that's when I hit Google. Google is your best friend for this. Let's just say you have a bag of frozen peas and canned asparagus. And you're like, what can I do with a bag of frozen peas and canned asparagus? Just Google it. And I'm telling you, you will find thousands of pages of recipes with just like those 2 ingredients and some other stuff that you'll buy or you'll find in your house. So I would say start with 2 ingredients that you have no idea what to do with. Throw it in Google, see what comes out. You might get inspired. You might find that you already have all the ingredients for the meals that you'll find when you Google it. So that's my process. I'm literally just Googling stuff like, what do I have? What do I want to make? Personally, I'm a recipe developer, so I have to make new things all the time. That is not what you have to do. I personally just have to keep that going. If I was meal planning and I didn't have this business, it would look a little bit different. It would be a little simpler. There would be more repetition, but I can't do that. I need to keep giving you guys new recipes, which I love to do. Then I make a grid. I make a grid on my computer. You've seen it a bunch of times on stories and on my blog. It's like an Excel grid with, breakfast, lunch, dinner for me and my partner. And I plan for Monday through Friday. Friday's always like takeout or a date night or something. We never really cook on Fridays. And I just fill in the meals that I need. This is a very basic version of my grid, right? So we have Monday through Friday, and then we have breakfast, lunch, dinner. And then I put the X's on meals that are maybe covered by work, or I'm going out with friends or something like that. So I know that I don't need meals for those days. And then I wrote in oats, stir fry, mac and cheese. I wrote that I was gonna buy lunch on this day. So this is just a very basic version of a meal plan that I did for months before I started doing it on the computer. You can keep it simple. It does not have to be this like crazy complicated thing. You don't need an app. Like, you don't really need all that stuff. You can just do it like this, if you just know what you want in your stir fry or what you want in your mac and cheese. Another really important step in this process is checking your calendar. And this goes back to the over planning mistake people make. Check what you have going on. Obviously, a lot of us are not going out right now and we're not having much of a social life. But generally, you might have like breakfast meetings, catered lunch at work, happy hours, dinners with friends, birthday parties, date nights. You want to plan around that stuff. You want to look at your calendar. What do you have going on? Obviously, you don't want to plan to have a meal prep dinner or make a dinner on a night that you might meet up with a friend. Or if you know that your friends hit you up a few nights every week and you don't really plan it, maybe don't plan so many dinners because you're going to end up hanging out with them. Obviously now things are different because we're all stuck at home and we're all eating at home, and this is another reason why meal planning is essential, because then you won't waste food. But check your calendar. Very, very important. The fourth and final step is making a grocery list and actually going shopping. There's a lot of work done before we actually go to the grocery store. It breaks my heart when I hear people in the grocery store planning, like, should we get this chicken and make this, or should we get this broccoli and do that? Like, it's like, oh man, you should have done this work before you got here, because they're just standing in the grocery store, like, talking out their meal plan. It's a disaster. So with this plan, you will get in and out really quickly. You'll have your list. You will also not be doing these impulse buys. You'll know exactly what everything on your list is for. That's why meal planning is like magic. A couple considerations when you're making your meal plan. And again, knowing that we're spontaneous, knowing that we might want to change our minds and do something else. You need to make sure that you're still avoiding wasting food, which is wasting money. So maybe make sure some meals on your plan are freezer friendly, so you can throw them in the freezer if you are just bored of it or you don't feel like making it. Maybe you want to think about overlapping ingredients. So if you buy a bag of spinach, what other meals can you use that spinach in before it goes bad? Defrosting meat. How much meat do you really need that week? Is there stuff in your freezer that you can defrost? Do you have to buy it fresh? That's another consideration. Also, time to cook. Do you have time to cook all the meals that you plan? That's a huge one. Be realistic. Like, seriously, be realistic about your time and how much time you actually want to spend in the kitchen. There are tons of shortcuts you can take if you want to cut down your kitchen time, like buying rotisserie chicken or buying like pre-made stuff in the grocery store. That's all fine. Like, get some frozen meals, get some pre-made frozen ingredients if you hate cooking. That is fine to do. What I really want you guys to do is just make a plan. And of course, variety, making sure that your meals are different in your meal plan. So like this week we chose burritos, a chicken rice spinach bake, and my partner wanted like an Asian noodle thing. So those are all kind of different, right? They're all different flavor profiles, different textures, ingredients, and that will make sure we're not bored and we don't feel like we're eating the same thing over and over. If you have never meal planned before, it would be a good idea to start small, right? Start with just planning breakfast or just lunches. Don't worry about planning dinners. Don't worry about planning whatever else. Another suggestion would be buffet prep. So you could plan, I'm gonna make a big batch of rice. I'm gonna make a big batch of tofu and just use that at meals throughout the week. You don't know what the meal is going to be for, but you made a plan to make that tofu or make that rice, and you will use it because it's ready for you. It's just making your life easier. All of this is meant to make your life easier, really. Give yourself some options. Maybe just pick 2 recipes you want to plan this week. That's enough. That is enough to unload that mental, like take a load off your brain, pick 2 recipes and start there. And again, when we don't plan, we risk wasting food, wasting money, and we waste that energy after work when we're already so tired and don't feel like coming up with a dinner idea. I also want to mention here, we have a service that gives you meal plans. If you don't want to do all this work, you don't have to. In the Work Week Lunch Meal Prep Program, we give you the meal plan, the grocery list, and all the recipes. And what you do is then customize it in the program. So you can learn more about that in my bio link, and you can skip all that work we just talked about and just sign up for free on a free trial in my bio link. Just a little plug, just gotta plug it in there. Yes, so meal planning has helped me take away the stress out of food, which also kind of ties into intuitive eating. And I will say that during the week is when I do most of my planning. I leave weekends open, and that works for me because I'm super in the zone when, like, Monday through Friday working. I don't really have time to think about food. I don't really care what the meals are. I just want to feel full. So that's the kind of eater I am. Everyone's different, and that's kind of how meal planning just makes me feel safe, secure, like meals are taken care of. I can focus on other things. And I know it's like really different for everyone, but a lot of dietitians that are intuitive eating focused do talk about how meal planning can work. I guess the other part of it is just being compassionate with myself when I don't feel like eating what I've prepped, and it does happen. And that's not a failure. It's just I don't feel like eating what I prepped, so I make a grilled cheese, I make an omelet, I do something else, and that's fine. And I throw my prep in the freezer, or my partner eats it, or we eat it tomorrow. It's like no big deal. So I would say meal planning with intuitive eating works if you can take the emotion out of it. If you don't follow your meal plan, you just have to roll with it and be like, hey, I'm a human. That's okay. You guys, you're amazing. I just really, really appreciate you being here every night. Tomorrow, I don't know what we're doing yet. I'm open to suggestions, but let me know. I will see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. I hope you have an amazing Saturday, and you guys are the best. Bye.